This guy's not a very good camera guy, it sounds like. Sorry, man. All right, cool. Right. So, what's your name?
Robbie.
Robbie. I'm Robert, so pretty close there.
Rob,
Yeah, I have a son named Ewan, so that's kind of Scottish, right?
Ewan. I don't know actually. Yeah, there's lots of Ewans, I suppose.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, so we're asking people, so you're not from Dallas, but that's all right. So I'll ask you anyway. The key question in America people don't get right, they don't understand what it is the gospel. Do you know what the gospel is?
Not really.
Okay. Do you have a religious background at all, like maybe Presbyterian?
I do actually. A Catholic.
Okay, Catholic. So
I kind of know what you mean by the gospel. I don't. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to understand exactly what you mean by it. Yeah, what's the?
I gotcha. So, Robbie, is it?
Yeah.
Robbie. All right. So, Robbie, in Scotland, what are the predominant denominations of forms of Christianity?
Dominant forms of Christianity: Protestant, Catholic.
Hang on a second. These guys are messing my video up here. All right. Sorry.
So it's Protestant and Catholic.
What Protestant denominations are there?
Oh, pass.
Lots of them. I've heard Presbyterian. Is that right? There are quite a few there. What's the famous Presbyterian guy? Oh, he doesn't know, maybe. Anyway, so the next question is, I asked you already what the gospel is, and maybe I'll explain it to you, and then you could tell me what you think about it. How about that?
Okay.
So the gospel is that if the fall of Adam, everyone is sin and has original sin. Not only that, but everyone disobeys God, doesn't obey his law. So if you look with lust, Jesus said you commit adultery in your heart. If you hate your brother without a cause, you're a murderer in your heart. And if you lie, you are a liar. And it says in Revelation that liars will have their part in the lake of fire. So that's the sin part. The part that's the redemptive grace part is that Jesus came to redeem us by fulfilling the law. He died for our sins. That's what Easter is about, and he rose again, right? So the gospel is if you believe in Jesus, faith alone, by grace alone, in Jesus Christ alone, that you will be saved by repenting from your sin, turning to Jesus as the Savior. Does that make sense?
Yes. No, it makes sense. It does make sense. I mean, like I say, I come from a Catholic background, so I do understand that whole part of it. That whole kind of like, sort of like, Jesus died for us, and we would, we've got to like live by his. We have to kind of follow his path in that respect. What I think is quite difficult though is nowadays is for people to sort of understand how that relates to their own life. So I think it's kind of an unbelievable situation to sort of have to follow. Okay. So I think that religion and Christianity needs to be modernized slightly. Okay.
What should they do?
Say that again.
How can it be modernized?
How can it be modernized? I think it just needs to be brought back to real life. I think it just needs to be like, these stories are great for telling how things used to be and how things could be, but I think more has to be put into more ideas, more thought has to be put into how we live these days. So having living leaders or living people that we can follow.
I gotcha.
Can actually listen
So
to.
not just old rules and traditions, but something that actually applies to your life is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think the gospel could apply to people's lives today?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Really? Okay.
I mean, I would say that I came from a Christian background, so I'm a Catholic, but I kind of moved away from Catholicism because it was a bit too stuffy for me.
Okay, then what are you today?
So I'm a kind of a spiritual guy, but I also like practice mindfulness. I'm not a Buddhist.
It's part of Buddhism, right?
I don't practice Buddhism.
Okay.
I just practice the practice of mindfulness. I don't practice Buddhism. I don't
Sure.
necessarily have any religious feelings towards Buddhism. But at the same time, I don't have any religious feelings as much towards Catholicism. But I just kind of, I live by the sort of the way that the path that makes you feel happier.
Okay. So do all paths lead to God?
Tricky question. I'm not sure. I don't.
So let me ask you another question then that's theoretical. So if I believe that Oprah Winfrey is the goddess of the universe, and that if I sing the Oprah Winfrey song just before I die, I tap my feet 3 times, and if I believe right before I die, I'm going to spend eternity with Oprah Winfrey on the 44th floor of a high-rise in Chicago, am I right or wrong?
Yeah, you're right. Keep it as right as you want to be.
But am I really right?
Absolutely, you're right, because that's how you felt at the time, and then that's as much as you want to know, and that's what you want to think. So, are you really right or really wrong? It doesn't. No one can say. No one can really say.
I see. So that philosophy is called postmodernism. So would you consider yourself to be a postmodern in theological mindset?
Probably not. No, I wouldn't say that would be exact. I don't 100% buy into that.
So am I right or am I wrong as someone who believes that Oprah Winfrey is the goddess of the universe and I'm going to spend eternity with her? Is that right or wrong?
Neither right nor wrong. I don't believe it's either right or wrong. I think it's right or wrong for that person. So I think for me, it wouldn't be right, but for you, it might be right.
Okay, so in Christianity, in Catholicism, and in the Bible specifically, Jesus makes these statements, and I'll mention one of them. He says, "I am the way, the truth, the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." So he makes a statement that sounds very exclusive. Do you agree with Jesus, or you think that he's not really telling the whole truth?
I'm not sure if I understand that.
So if Jesus says that he is the way, the truth, the life, no one comes to the Father except through me, is a statement evangelicals would say differentiates Christianity from everything else because it's exclusive to get to God through Jesus.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so do I think that he's right and
Do you think when Jesus says that, that's true?
that's true? Yeah, I would say that when he said it, it was true for him, but whether it's true for all, I wouldn't say so. No, I don't think it's true for all.
So
I think everyone has their own way of doing things.
So when Jesus was on earth, he also, and the Catholic Church also teaches that he is God. Do you think that Jesus is God?
It again, his own God, and for the people that follow him, maybe he is God, potentially, but not always. Not everyone's God. So
So would you consider yourself to be a good person?
yes.
So have you ever broken God's law, lusted with your eyes? Jesus said is adultery, right?
Yep.
If you've ever lied, you're a liar, and liars in...
But I didn't say yes.
Yeah. So the answer is yes, you've broken God's law. So on the day of judgment, will you be innocent or guilty before God?
I don't. Well,
According to the Bible, according to Bible teachings.
yeah, I'm not too sure if those Bible teachings chime with me as much, because I don't believe in day of judgments as much. But
Sorry, you don't believe they have what?
the day of judgment.
Oh, gotcha. So the Revelation Day of Judgment stuff is not something you accept as truth.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't believe that we're going to be held to account for all that we've done throughout our life as we've had it. I don't believe that there's a day of judgment for us, or a day of reckoning.
So it seems like in some ways logically there ought to be. Now, just hear me out here. So if there is a murderer who gets away with murder, he never spends a day in prison. What should be done with him? If it was true, there was a day of judgment, should God do something with that guy?
I think that just in terms of life,
Justice.
yeah, justice. It's a really difficult question, but I don't think that there can be any one person can say what would happen to this guy, when he dies, or when he ceases to exist. Certainly I would imagine that there should be a day. I don't think there should be a day of judgment for that person, no matter what they've done.
Okay. So justice is one of those things that it gets more crazy when it's more personal. So do you have any siblings, like a sister or a brother or anything?
Yeah, I've got two sisters.
So if one of your sisters was brutally murdered and raped, which I'm not saying ought to happen, but if it happened and that guy that did that wasn't ever caught, what will you want to happen to that guy?
I'd probably feel like some really terrible feelings towards him. Probably want to punish him and all that kind of stuff for it. Yeah.
A sense of justice, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. I'd probably initially I'd want some justice for it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So wouldn't it make sense to want to have a day of judgment for justice for at least those kind of people, if nothing else?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I can't argue that I wouldn't want justice if that happened to my family. I just don't think that is necessary. When people move on and people die, people, the life ceases to exist in this earth. I don't think.
Well, Robbie, thank you very much for your time.
Here you go.
A million.